Will the ETH ETF be approved? On today's episode of Bull Market Boys, we're going to talk about the Ethereum ETF. Big news in the crypto world over the past couple of days. We've seen an explosion in the ETH price, and it's a big event that everybody's talking about. So we want to dive into it and give some of our opinions and just talk through it.
So diving in, the question everyone wants to know: will the Ethereum ETF be approved?
I'm going to have to go with no. I think that the SEC has made their stance pretty clear on it. They just don't like crypto assets. I feel like their hands were kind of tied on the Bitcoin one. I think the pressure and plus Bitcoin has a different level of decentralization, I think, even than Ethereum does. I think with them going proof of stake, that's kind of taken some of that away. And it's still unclear if Ethereum is a security or not. So with all that kind of looming, kind of makes me wonder what the SEC is going to do. They've made their opinion on it pretty crystal clear up until this point.
Yeah, I'm going to go with I think it will be approved, and the reason for that is because BlackRock is involved, and I think that is very important. BlackRock's filing for the Ethereum ETF, and their track record of getting things done and things approved, I think holds a lot of weight. Whether or not it happens this week or in the next few months, that's the question. But I do think it's going to get approved. Yes, I do.
Well, I sure hope you're right.
This round ETF is not getting approved. I don't see it happening. I mean, we've been down this road with Bitcoin ETF multiple times. I mean, so many times it went through the approval process, and this Ethereum ETF is brand new. I don't see it happening. I know Bloomberg raised its analysis from 25% to 75%, but this round I just don't see it happening. I mean,
yeah. Speaking of that, here's the tweet that has been making the rounds on the internet. I'm sure you've seen it by this point. But Eric Balcones, he has pretty much said that his probability has went up from 25% to 75%. That's pretty huge. It's seeming very reminiscent of how Bitcoin ETF got approved. Like, it's kind of that refiling and kind of all those things are kind of following the same path. So, I mean, it could happen. Who knows?
And with that also, I'm reminded of the Bitcoin ETF when that website, I can't remember exactly which one it was, but everybody remembers the website that posted that article that the Bitcoin ETF was denied.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, oh no, and it was just an article.
Yeah.
So we have to take that into consideration. Eric is with Bloomberg, so that's a reputable source, I suppose, but just keep that in mind, whenever news drops just like this.
Yeah. So, what do you guys think? If it is approved, what do you expect to see happen? What do you think a possible price top is like? And then also kind of touch on what you think would happen if it's declined.
So if it gets approved, I mean, I think we're going to rocket ship everything from Ethereum to altcoins. It's going to be the major start of the bull run, I think. So if it doesn't get approved, I think we're going back to where we were 2 weeks ago. So it's up in the air right now.
Yeah. If it does get approved, obviously we're going to see a good increase in price. But I think on a macro scale, if it gets approved, then it follows the roadmap for a $15,000 price prediction of Ethereum, which I've heard a lot of, and which I do agree with, which with the potential that a price of ETH could be. But also, I think if it gets approved, it's huge for the crypto space in general, because what that's telling us is that the SEC opens the door for all of crypto. So this ETF is about Ethereum, but if it gets approved, then we are getting the stamp of approval on crypto, I believe, as a whole. So it really opens a huge door for other things in the future, and it really broadens our horizons as far as what crypto can do as a whole. If it gets denied, I do think that, I think immediately we're going to see news outlets and people talk about what the steps are to be taken to get it approved. I think that will hit the news immediately. So we will see a drawdown for sure in price, but I think that the fire will continue to be stoked, and I think that it'll come out, okay, well, step one is X, step two is X, step three, you need to get these steps in order similar to the Bitcoin ETF in order to get approval. So I don't feel like it'll be completely over. I think it'll just start to reformulate the plan on what needs to happen.
Yeah. I mean, we see what happened just on speculation. This was an explosive move. That's awesome. Just imagine what that's going to look like if that's an actual approval and not just speculation. So it obviously has bigger implications for the market as a whole. Is just going to absolutely take off. This would be that catalyst that sends us into that altcoin season that we're all here for. But now on the flip side, if it gets rejected, we're going to see these gains retraced immediately. I mean, as big of a candle down as we see up is kind of what I would expect, and then some. I honestly expect it would kind of leave everybody with a negative mindset on the crypto landscape as a whole. Everybody would think that like this being denied could be the start of the downturn. It's going to wash a bunch of people out. Obviously, we don't feel that way. We know it's just a buying opportunity. But that's kind of what I would think is if it gets denied, it's going to shake a lot of people out. It's going to really draw down a lot of those cryptos, walk back all the gains that we just saw.
Yeah,
So,
I think sideways action after it drops back down to where it was. I think sideways action would happen over the next month, 2 months.
Yeah.
Sitting sideways.
So what do you guys think? If it were to be rejected, kind of drop down, kind of go sideways, how long do you think that could possibly go on?
When's the next voting on the next ETF? That's probably the question.
Yeah, that's another thing is if this Ethereum ETF gets approved, that opens, like you were saying, that opens the floodgates. Like, what's next? Solana ETF,
Well, I think it's inevitable that we see a similar setup as the S&P 500 with crypto. It won't be the top 500, of course, but maybe the top 20 or 30, whatever the case may be. I think it would open the door up for that possibility for
that would be
investors
cool. Yeah.
to invest in the top 30, 40, whatever they come up with, top crypto assets.
Yeah.
One thing as far as the ETF is concerned is I think we looked at it, and Grayscale owns about $9 billion worth of Ethereum. That's a huge consideration. We've seen kind of what they do with the outflows with the Bitcoin ETF. With that much of a percentage of ownership that they have in Ethereum, I would not be surprised to see a similar outflow, a similar sell-off, to whether it be to keep the price stable, whatever their strategy is. I think that's important information to know. Grayscale owns a ton of Ethereum, so
And that's about 12% of
Yeah.
the entire market cap of Ethereum.
Yeah, it's a
Grayscale
ton.
owns.
And we saw, like, it obviously was a catalyst for Bitcoin, and it was great news for the market. But man, that bleed,
Yeah.
it keeps bleeding and keeps bleeding. And we just recently got net positive inflows for the first time. So I'd expect something similar to that
Yeah.
on Ethereum as well. So it's going to have that huge spike and then like a slow bleed as they offload that Ethereum. All right, so next question is, do you guys think that Ethereum will remain number 2, or like do you see anything kind of coming to take its place?
I think definitely for this cycle, for sure, it will remain in the number 2 spot. It's just at this point, there's so many other projects built upon it. There's so much hype, especially with the ETF. Especially if the ETF gets approved, I don't see definitely this cycle any other project coming close to taking over Ethereum. In the future, the next cycle, which is 6, 7, 8 years away, that's a ton of time in the crypto space. So that's a conversation for another time in the future. But for this cycle, Ethereum will remain number 2.
Yeah, I agree. Ethereum's not going anywhere for a while. I mean, obviously the negative to Ethereum is the fees. Um, During peak times, I mean, fees will eat up profits. So I know as an investor, when I'm looking at projects to invest in, I take into consideration, is it built on Ethereum? Because I know when that time comes to sell, I'm going to be losing 5 to 10% on the fees.
Yeah.
So
Sometimes if you're lucky,
yeah,
5
I will say, anything built on Ethereum does create a little bit of friction, and like I like Ethereum, but it's hard to deny that I don't want to steer. Like I want to stay away from it if possible. Why would I not want to go for a Solana coin where I could pay fractions of a penny instead of $20-$30 for gas fees? So that is a big thing.
more and more investors are thinking that way too.
Yeah.
I mean, from what you read and see on everything, that's what's going to kill Ethereum if
Yeah.
they don't fix that.
I do think it's going to stay where it's at. Number two, I mean, if you just kind of look at market cap, you can see like Bitcoin and Ethereum, they are the lion's share of the market, and then everything else is just kind of scraps. But yeah, I think it's going to stay where it's at. I think this ETF is going to eventually be approved, and it's going to just absolutely pump it. So I think it's a bright future for ETH.
Yeah, oh for sure.
So, what are some other plays that you guys could maybe see benefiting from an Ethereum ETF approval? Like, do you think anything else could kind of benefit from that? I know the market as a whole, but
Yeah, I was going to
specific-
say honestly everything. I
Yeah.
mean, you look at prices on Sunday compared to prices today. I mean, everything ran.
Yeah.
But there are going to be some specific plays that'll benefit more than others. What are you guys thinking?
Well, obviously the projects built on Ethereum and the layer twos and the entire Ethereum ecosystem, I think we'll see the most benefit. One project that we're investors in is Tectum, that has seen a very good price surge along with Ethereum and a lot of others as well. So Ethereum has a very robust ecosystem, ton of layer twos, ton of projects built on Ethereum, which we'll see a lot of benefit. But like y'all said, Ethereum it charges the altcoin market. It spearheads the altcoin market as a whole. So and it gives investors confidence in the altcoin market. If we see a huge increase in price for Ethereum, that gives everybody confidence in the altcoin market. We look at historical how things run. Bitcoin bleeds into Ethereum. Ethereum bleeds into other projects. And if that remains true, then obviously a very bullish price for Ethereum is a bullish price for a lot of other projects as well.
Yeah, kind of like you're talking about that risk curve. It starts with Bitcoin, and people make their money there, and they kind of flow it down the risk curve to higher risk assets with higher returns. So I think as far as stuff like natively built on Ethereum, it's also going to do great. Obviously, everything's going to do great. But where I think we could see some really, really big pumps is going to be in the layer 2 space. I know Polygon hasn't been doing a whole lot here lately, but the new kid on the block is Base Chain. And Base is, it's primed for greatness. It has Coinbase. It's already got access to all those customers who can just natively trade that and instantly get into anything in the Base network. So I think plays like Aerodrome being pretty much the frontier DEX for Base, they are going to kill it this cycle. Like it's going to be really good asset to hold through this next bull cycle. And I also think like there's a place for meme coins as well. So something like Brett could really take off. It's the big meme coin on Base, so I think it could do really well. So what do you guys think about staking regarding the Ethereum ETF? Like, what do you think the laws are going to look like around that?
I think the staking aspect of it and Ethereum being proof of stake is one of the hangups for the approval. I know that Kathy Woods, and we'll show a video here in a second kind of explaining that, but I think the staking aspect of it and the complexity of that with do the firms get to stake and then charge fees on top of that. Once you stake your Ethereum, it's no longer liquid. So how does that work as far as through an ETF? So I think the staking aspect of it is what kind of complicates how the SEC sees Ethereum as what kind of category of an asset it is. So I think that obviously for an investor, it's good to have the ability to stake and get interest on that. But for the ETF, you know, it could complicate things.
Yeah, and we saw multiple people revise their applications, taking that the staking rewards out of it. So we'll show you a quick video on Kathy Woods and how she revised her application.
Kathy Wood changes her Ethereum ETF application with Uncle Sam. Initially, Kathy wanted to be able to stake the Ethereum. That means earn interest on the Ethereum that they bought to back the ETF. They got that out of the application because there was no way they were ever going to go for that. So with that adjustment, that leads me to believe that they're in talks with regulators about how to actually get it done. So any lack of approval, or if they turn it down short term, they're actually working to get it done longer term. So Kathy Wood literally just told everybody that there's going to be an Ethereum ETF. Meanwhile, everyone in the crypto market is asleep, thinking ETH can't do anything. You better follow Kathy on this one because she's right.
So that's good information, and I 100% agree. I remember, and like most everybody remembers, when the Bitcoin ETF was in talks of getting approved, tons of speculation, tons of, is it going to get approved? Is it not? Is it not? Well, this person said this, and you know, like that video said, it's very wise to listen to the people that are running the show, you know, and not try to outsmart yourself, and take advice from people that are actually at the forefront of this and trying to get it approved, trying actually doing the paperwork, actually knowing the ins and outs, and following that information. Not that Kathy Woods came and said that, but the writing seems to be on the wall that they're trying their best to do everything possible to get this thing going. So I think it's important to pay attention to that.
Yeah, after seeing that video again, I'm a little bit more thinking that the ETF could be approved this time. I mean, with them making these last minute revisions on the application, and I don't know. I mean, if it is great, and so much money got pumped into Ethereum yesterday. I mean, it rose from 2,900 on Friday to 3,800.
So much money.
So I mean, that begs the question: is that all retail money? Probably not.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Is that might be institutional money that knows what's coming.
Yeah.
So,
and I just recently looked at a chart, and it was a social interest chart. And right now we are almost at the bottom, like near all-time lows on social interest. So this kind of volume is not your average investor coming in to scoop up this speculation. There's more to it than that. So, I mean, that is a case that it may go through. So it's hard to say right now.
we shall see.
Anyway, guys, if you like the content, make sure to smash like, throw us a subscribe. Also, feel free to comment some of your questions down below.
Let us know what you think. Is the Ethereum ETF going to be approved?
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
So again, we're as we said in the first video, we're relatively new. This is our first bull run. We were some of the guys in the last bull run that bought the top, and we're trying to learn. I know there's thousands and thousands of you guys out there going through the same process, so we're right here with you. Drop a comment below on what you'd like to see on the next video, and I'll see you out there.